Within the many myths and cultures of the world, the tale of the end of days has remained a common thread throughout the ages. As we embark through the rich and storied world of Norse mythology in God of War's latest chapter, we become well acquainted with their own apocalyptic event, known as Ragnarok, a time of hardship, strife, death, yet ultimately rebirth. This myth from our own world, however, may have been irreparably altered by the presence and actions of the Ghost of Sparta. This is made evident by the observations of Mimir upon returning to Midgard to find the great winter that precedes the end of days has already begun, some 100 years before originally foretold. So today, we will compare and contrast the common myth with that of Kratos and Atreus' own making to decipher what may be yet in store for our protagonists before the great battle for the fate of the realms. As this winter to end all winters begins, the unyielding cold will lead to the strife of all mankind. Men will turn against one another, and a time of war and bloodshed will follow, all fighting to survive. Then the great wolves Skoll and Hati, set loose by Odin, will finally engulf the sun and moon, plunging the world into darkness. The world tree will shake and tremble, and not even mountains will be able to stand, as they too will be reduced to rubble. In this, the battle lines will be drawn for what will be the final battle of gods and beasts alike. On one side will stand the gods, Aesir and Vanir, along with the honored fallen warriors of Valhalla who shall arm themselves against the coming horde. On the other will be the might of the giants as well as the forces of Hell, all sailing upon the great nail ship to meet them. As the sky splits, from the crack the fire giants of Muspelheim will join them, led by Surtur and his sword of flames. Yet perhaps most impressive of all shall be the great wolf Fenrir and the world serpent Jormungandr, all to rage against the forces of Asgard. And on the foretold battleground of Vigrid, the final conflict will begin. Upon the final reveal atop the peaks of Jotunheim, it seems more evident than ever that Kratos and Atreus will be at the center of the Twilight of the Gods. As it's foretold, it will be Loki that will too oppose the gods on the Day of Reckoning. Before we dive too deep into the speculative, let's examine which players' fates have been altered from their original course by Kratos. Firstly, being the children of Thor, Magni and Modi. Though Ragnarok is often viewed as the end of days, it also represents the rebirth of a new world from the ashes of the old. In this new world, the few gods who survived Ragnarok will come to inherit it. As legend goes, among these survivors were to be Magni and Modi, but due to their rather fatal entanglements with Kratos, this does not seem to be their intended fate any longer. Next would have to be the fate of Jotunheim and the giants who resided there. In the original myth, the giants are intended to play a sizable role against the gods of Asgard. However, within God of War's world, Odin took this knowledge as an opportunity to set his son loose on the giants of Midgard, a veritable genocide that would only be avoided by the actions of the god Tyr, hiding the way to Jotunheim from the Allfather. Unfortunately, it would seem that even these heroic efforts were ultimately all for naught. As we venture into the realm of the giants, the land looks to be littered with the last remnants of the Jotun race. This, in and of itself, could drastically turn the tides of Ragnarok in favor of the gods, yet could in turn be balanced by our storied protagonist. Next is what most would agree to be the most significant change brought on by Kratos' presence, that being Boulders' death at his hands. In both traditional and God of War variants of the mythology, Baldur was always prophesied to die. It's because of this that his mother Frigg, one and the same as Freya in this universe, took it upon herself to prevent this from coming to pass. This spell, as it's referred to in the game, is more of a series of oaths and promises in the original myth. Once made aware of the prophecy, Baldur's mother traveled the realms, convincing all things that could harm her son to never hurt him, all save one, a seemingly harmless plant deemed no threat to her son, this being mistletoe. After accidentally piercing himself on a mistletoe arrowhead used to fasten Atreus' quiver, Baldur was no longer immune to harm, and ultimately this led to his demise. Though mistletoe was Baldur's bane across both accounts, in the original myth, Baldur dies almost instantly from the dart, or spear depending on the interpretation, made from the plant opposed to just breaking the spell. The dart being thrown by Baldur's blind brother Hod, manipulated by Loki. Hod would eventually be slain by Vali, the son of Odin and the giantess Rindir, born principally to exact vengeance and replace Baldur as another son of Odin. Obviously, this rendition never came to pass, meaning most likely that Hod still lives. Though it's possible that Vali may yet be born and seek out Kratos and Atreus, it seems less likely being that his mother is a giant, an obvious issue in the face of our discovery at the apparent extinction of their entire race. Vali was also a god foretold to survive Ragnarok, yet another god who seemingly will not see the rise of the new world. Mimir as a character within the game adds a wealth of color and information to this deep and rich world, but whose story has also felt the effects of Kratos' presence. In the game's myth as well as our own, Mimir finds himself beheaded and then reanimated. In the game, his head is removed by Kratos and brought back by the actions of Freya. In the myth, he loses his head at the hands of the Vanir during their war with the Aesir gods, and a similar ritual is performed akin to what we see in the game, but by Odin, not wanting to lose his wise counsel. Before Ragnarok, it's said that Odin confers once more with Mimir on what action should be taken, but judging by the head's present circumstances and allegiances, who knows what kind of advantages might be gained from having such knowledgeable counsel on the side of Kratos in the future. Though all of this may seem to diverge from our understanding of Norse myth, and may appear to be altering the fate of the realms, in all actuality, our journey with Kratos was too prophesized. By the giants of Jotunheim along with Laufey the Just, and by the great seer Groa before Odin took her life and knowledge as his own. For as we learn from the lost pages of Norse myth, Groa foresaw Ragnarok as it stated, "In the events leading up to it all, she also saw a pale ghost from a distant land and his young son somehow intertwined in this terrible prophecy." So now we must ask ourselves, are our heroes masters of their own destiny, or has their path been chosen for them? Can prophecy truly be changed, or are actions taken against it yet another piece in an inescapable fate? For now, our side is clouded, but one thing is certain, Ragnarok is coming. And that brings our journey to an end. If you'd like to see more content like this, likes and shares are always appreciated, and if you really enjoy what we're doing at the channel, come and join our community and that subscribe button. Also consider supporting the channel on Patreon to help us create new series and to supply more quality content just like this. Check out the link in the description. And if you have a great idea or interesting question that could lead to our next episode, let us know in the comments down below. And until next time, thanks for watching, and keep questing.